getting back to the pinnacle of power and success, you got to be a soldier. So the goal of God is to make an army out of a people. Well, first thing he said was to unite. Guess what the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan teaches us? He said that our unity would solve 95% of our problems. That's an 8. That's a pretty good percentage. What y'all think? The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that our unity as a people is more powerful than a nuclear bomb. Don't you know nuclear bombs don't just have the effect from the impact, but also have radiation that lasts years into the future, where future generations are still impacted by the radiation? If our unity is more powerful than an atom bomb, us coming together in the present not only will solve our problems, but it will leave in the atmosphere a radiation, a legacy, corporations, groups, neighborhoods, communities, that our children's children will be able to benefit from if we come together. But if you and I are going to become an army, and we are inside of another man's house, that's a special kind of army. In fact, the definition of an army that is inside of a land that is occupied by the enemy that outnumbers them is called a guerrilla warrior. Not G-U-G-O, not the gorilla down the zoo. G-U-E-rilla. A guerrilla is a member of a small army that is usually outnumbered by their enemy. A guerrilla uses unconventional tactics. They stand on corners selling final call newspapers. That's a remix. That's a remix. Y'all got it? And they use unconventional tactics, basic weapons, and equipment which can be obtained easily and operates in small units to accomplish their tasks. Guerrillas are the fighting force which represent a people or a cause. There's 6 laws that have to be adhered to in order for guerrilla warriors to be effective at defeating the enemy. Number 1 is a principle called homogeneity. This is supreme unity. When you go and buy milk from the store and it's called homogenized, that means that there's been heat put on the milk to such a degree that it has reduced and broken up the molecular structure at the top, bottom, and middle, that if you pulled out a drop from the top or the bottom, put it under a microscope, it would have the exact same molecular structure. So homogeneity among a people is whether you are talking to a private soldier or a national so-and-so, you're getting the same molecular structure, the same faith, the same conviction, the same work ethic, the same spirit, the same aim. It don't matter what post you have. The day of rugged individualism is over. Did you hear it? Yes, sir. Big eyes and little U's have run its course. Yes, we do not need no individual power no more. That's right. Officially, it is nation time. Yes, that means that every man, woman, and child has to manifest themselves in perfection in their field of human endeavor that they were born to do. And whenever I'm teaching, I might be in charge right now. But if I'm out there in the garden and you know garden and I'm sitting in my seat, right over left, taking notes, and you are my superior. Superiority does not come by means of post or position. It comes from task at hand and who's most qualified with the wisdom to accomplish that task. That's what homogeneity looks like. All guerrillas have the same purpose, will make the same sacrifices, and have the same level of dedication regardless to rank or specialty. Number 2 is respect for the leader. There ain't but one leader. I am a witness bearer. Yes, sir. I am too. But I am not a leader in no shape, form, or fashion. I do not have a vision. I am here to help him fulfill his vision. I don't have a goal except to submit myself to his goal. I do not have a purpose except to help him fulfill his purpose. Did you hear it? Yes, that is the recognition of one leader, respect for the leader. That means that I subordinate every goal, every aspiration, everything I want to do to make sure his word is bound. Then if I got room, I work on some of my stuff. But right now I'm 100% all in. That's the way the Muslim got to be in guerrilla warfare in the hells of Muslim. All praise to you, Number 3 is valor, which means brave but careful selective warfare. Guerrillas must be constantly courageous and of a self-sacrificing spirit, but at the same time practices of careful selective warfare. Meaning you got to be all in, but don't be all in dumb. That's pretty plain. Number 4, knowledge of the terrain. Know your surroundings at all times. Know geography, where to get supplies. Know the people, their codes, and their patterns. Did you hear it?
Yes, sir.
However, think about this. Our primary battlefield is not streets. Our real battlefield is the mind. So we have to learn the dynamics of the mind, that we might be able to effectively win as guerrilla warriors. Number 5, understand the tactics. Follow the instructions from the leader and question orders only at the proper time and in the proper manner, seeking understanding with patience and obedience. A Muslim hears and obeys. Understanding is not what comes before obedience. Say not that we yet believe, for faith is not yet entered in the heart. No, say we submit. After we submit, we believe, and then we get understanding after we do it. You cannot have understanding before, because to understanding means to stand under. If you're standing under a thing, that means you're looking up to it as better than yourself. So if I'm standing under the messenger, under the minister, under Master Farrakhan Muhammad, under the Quran, then I respect their mind more than my mind. So if I'm going to make a decision that I would really want to do, but they don't think it's best, then their mind wins. By following that, we have to follow, and then we'll later on say, you know what? Now I understand why it's necessary. Guerrilla warfare. Number 6, support of the people, not a part of your army. Yeah, y'all didn't hear me.
Yes, sir.
Guerrillas must be able to blend into the crowd with civilians.
Yes, sir.
Guerrillas must recruit allies among the people to aid with securing safe places, funding, logistics, and information.
Yes.
See, people always want to know, why y'all wear bow ties? I tell them because this is our war drove. What? It's our wardrobe. If I got a straight tie on, you can grab the back of it and choke me out. Now my outfit become a weapon against me. That's not what I want to do. But if I got on a bow tie, you get a handful of bow tie and a mouthful of fists. You all right? The enemy can only make a move based on a calculated risk. When the enemy is not for sure how many people that are not quite all the way 100% in, that are supportive enough to make their sacrifice or give help to, then they don't have the ability to calculate. In 1995, the enemy said that his clock moved about 3 minutes away from 12, which is when doomsday comes. Guess when he said it happened? After the Million Man March. How could 2 million black men coming together to atone, reconcile, and take on responsibilities of building their community, how does that bring America closer to doom? The only way right could bring something closer to doom is if what is bringing the doom is wrong. Makes sense, don't it? What they found is that Farrakhan don't just have the headpiece and the bow tie. But Farrakhan got some Christians. Farrakhan got some Orthodox Muslims. He got some drug dealers, gang bangers. He got young, he got old. Hell, he even got gay and straight. He got an army that you see, but then he got another army that you don't see. So they're unable to calculate their risk. So hands off Farrakhan becomes the law that governs the land. Oh, yes, sir. Y'all okay? Yes, sir. In closing, a guerrilla's ultimate aim is to produce a regular army. Guerrillas live off the land and live simply. That's right. I said guerrillas live off the land and live simply. That's right. You ain't got to floss. Do you know the only reason why people put on so much stuff on the outside? Is because they ain't got nothing on the inside. You got Negroes that go out of town, and if they get out of town and realize they left their necklace, they can't eat that. Man, I can't go out there like this. I don't even have my piece. My watch or nothing. I can't go, And they wait till somebody mail it to them. And then they put it on, hunched over. Start standing up, put on the watch. Now I'm ready. Why does it take some diamonds on your arm or diamonds on your finger or diamonds on your necklace to give you the swag of confidence? No, a diamond on your hand and on your wrist and on your neck is not what makes you get swag of confidence. It's when you got a jewel in your head. That's where the real value is at. Last I checked, you never seen a picture of Master Farrakhan Muhammad but one. Is that right? Yes. It wasn't him standing outside his mansion. No, sir. Like that? It wasn't? Was he posted up with his gators? Man in the picture? No, sir. Was he standing on there leaning on his Bentley? The only picture we have of Master Farrakhan Muhammad is him reading the Quran or reading the book. That's right. Is that right? That's right. Well, that's showing you that the real value is not found in the material things of this world. Guerrillas live simple. No, build your mind. Build your character. Build up your sincerity and your nobility, and all things will be added to you. Guerrillas are the vanguard of the people they serve. They represent the aspirations of the masses. Guerrillas are social reformers. I say guerrillas are social reformers. That means they solve the problems of the people. Why is stress laid to copy all answers to Minister Elijah Muhammad? Why is stress laid to copy the answers? See, why not copy the problems? Because black people are good at pontificating and explaining what's wrong. Stop wasting time talking about what ain't and who didn't do and what needs to go on. Start solving problems. He wants us to copy the answers because he wants us to be solution-oriented. That's the way guerrilla warriors are. Guerrillas don't wait for perfect conditions to fight. They are ready at all times to improvise, which is a major key to success. Guerrillas never let the enemy choose the time and place to fight. Guerrillas don't fight a battle unless it's winnable. Well, according to the Holy Quran, it says, when Allah's help and victory comes. So all it takes is for Allah to be with you and you will win. So anytime you got a struggle and Allah's with you, you will win. So that's a winnable battle. That's right. Guerrillas strike their enemy with surprise attacks. They engage quickly and disappear to minimize the chance of casualties. Guerrillas are trained and ready to take positions higher in rank in case leaders are captured or killed. I don't think you heard what I just said. I said guerrillas are trained and ready to take positions higher in rank. That means that every last one of us, whether we got stripes or stars or not, we should be engaged in study of the teachings and the method of the messenger and developing good leadership traits For one day we will be the rulers, not of no buildings or no temples, but of states, cities, countries, continents, worlds, and galaxies. Guerrillas fight to establish realities and programs, not individual ideas. Guerrillas must make survival first. He must do everything possible to prevent being captured or killed. Right. Now again, where are we fighting the primary battles at is where? Right. Okay, so let's read it again. Guerrillas must make survival first. He must do everything possible to prevent being captured or killed. Never expose yourself unnecessarily. Think security at all times. Guerrillas must be mobile and flexible at all times. Don't be a fixed target. Change up regular patterns often. Dear Muslims, we have something that Allah gave us. Black people, you have something that the God gave us. We have the absolute formula that will guarantee that man will become a perfect reflection of God again. Problem with us is that we want to follow the message without the method. We like the consciousness but don't want the culture. We like the word but don't want the way. We like the language but we don't like the law. That's like trying to have medicine but not following the prescription. The way of the messenger is the prescription for the word of the messenger. That's right. You with me? Yes, sir. If we would come together and men and women would sharpen men and women, like steel sharpens steel, the task of becoming a God would be much easier because we're doing it in unity. Yes, sir. Can I drop some on you that the minister said once? He said that a goose flying by itself can only fly at 12 miles per hour. Right. But when it's in formation, in unity, and in ranks, that same goose by itself that only can fly at 12 miles per hour now can fly at 65 miles per hour. Now, I don't know about you, but I've made mistakes that probably have set me back a little bit. So I've got some land to make up in the process of self-development. What about you? I don't know about you, but I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. So I'm anxious to get from where I am to where I'm trying to go. Well, the only way to get there or make up ground is you got to do something that makes you go faster. Is that right? Well, if 12 miles per hour is the way we fly by ourselves, but 65 is the way we fly in unity, then don't it make sense for us to be godly? And add and multiply to one another instead of being satanic and subtracting and dividing from one another? I was training for a marathon one day, and I had met a brother that he was a teacher at school when I was in high school. And I used to always talk to him about the teachings. Finally, I seen him at the gym. He had lost a lot of weight, and he was a real good runner. I was just learning how to run. I started running with him. He ran way faster than I ran. We decided one day that we were going to run a marathon. 26.2 miles. That's so long that it itches you a little tired just saying it. 26.2 miles. Well, his mindset is that he's more skilled of a runner, but he like smoking Black and Miles every now and then. Y'all may not have Black and Miles here. Strawberry cigarillos. Y'all may not have none of that type. And he like nipping on that cognac every now and then. You ever heard of that? And you know, he like cheeseburgers and whatnot. 3-4 meals a day. I'm telling him 1 meal a day, you don't need none of that. So all the time we're running, we are training, but we kind of like competing a little bit with one another. Because I want to prove to him that there's no God but Allah. And Muhammad is his messenger. Yes, sir. I don't know what he's trying to prove. But one day we out running, and the run we're on is a 21-mile run. At 17 miles, I was so tired. And I said, man. I looked over at him, his back was straight. His stride was good. Had a real good pace. Right. And I said, I'm in the honest truth. I said, I'm not going to let no black and mild smoking cognac nigga nip a cheeseburger nigga will be me. If he can do it, so can I. Watch this. We get all the way finished with 21 miles and lay out in the grass. Guess what this brother got the audacity to say to me? He said, brother, I'm going to be honest with you. I was hurting real bad around 17 miles. He said, but I looked over at you and I said, man, I've been running way longer than that brother. And if he can do it, so can I. Point is, we borrowed strength from one another without even spoken words, because we did the same thing at the same time together. I'm telling you, MGT, if you cook with your sister, you'll be able to cook better. If you exercise with your sister, you'll be able to lose more weight. If you work with your brother, you'll be able to make more money. If you exercise with your brother, you'll be able to gain more strength. Did you hear me? If we sleep together, not sleep together, but eat together, work together, pray together, fast together, soldier together, fish together, exercise together, it'll all become easy because we are doing it in unity. Because they teach the soft side of Jesus. They teach God as some milquetoast fella. Jesus as some blonde-haired, blue-eyed, stale-faced man that's going to come out the sky, scoop you up, and he going to just love everybody. And Negroes and white people and dogs and lions and bears, and everybody going to be living in peace. Y'all know I'm telling the truth. But today we want to take on a subject titled English Lesson number C1. In this book, Supreme Wisdom, it says in the 3rd paragraph, or 7th paragraph to us, the English lesson number C1, spelling must be used by all Muslim girls and mothers to their children for bedtime stories. Also in regular courses, Muslim girls must get away from reading the devil's bedtime stories to their children. Did y'all hear that? Muslim girls must get away from reading the devil's bedtime stories to our children. What does it mean whenever you sing or say to your baby to put them to sleep? Rock-a-bye baby. In the treetop. When the wind blows, the cradle will rock. And when the bow breaks, the cradle will fall. And down will go baby, cradle and all. What type of motherhood is that? What we are doing is putting into the subconscious mind of that child, we are setting them up for death or failure. So devil's bedtime stories are no good for us. What does it mean to tell a young black child to roll, roll, roll your boat gently down the stream? Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. Life is more than a dream. The only way that you can be dreaming is if you are asleep. And in the scripture, the worst condition you can find a person is to be dead. And second to dead is to be sleep. So being sleep, you have to be sleep to dream. No, life is more than a dream. You and I can't afford to row our boat gently down the stream. We're not in a current that was generated by God himself. We are in the world of Satan. And if Satan has generated the tide, we must row our boat aggressively. Up the stream, against the tide, against the current, against everything that is popular to save ourselves and our babies. All praise is due to Allah. All praise is due to Allah. What does it mean to tell your baby Mary had a little lamb? Mary had a little lamb and the fleece was white as snow. By way of word association, that young baby will one day grow up to run into a Mary in the Bible and run into a man named Jesus that is called the Lamb. And by way of the law of word association, they will begin to attribute the subliminal programming of their own mother to believing that Jesus the son of Mary, that lamb, his skin is white as snow. So now, no matter how much red, black, and green bandanas we have worn, no matter how many bones we put at the end of our dreadlocks, no matter how many bow ties we might have, if somebody say, close your eyes and say Jesus, the first thing that pops up in your mind is not no black man, but it's that picture that Michelangelo drew of his cousin, that artificial fraud version of Jesus. But Jesus was a black man. You say it don't matter what color Jesus was, it mattered to somebody, because they made him other than the way the scripture said that he was. The Bible says he had hair like lamb's wool. He had feet like brass that had been what? Burned in the oven. Well, if you take brass that's already brown, you burn it and it turns black. Another verse said he had the complexion like that of jasper or sardine stone. That's black or brown. Is that right? Another verse says that whenever the angel came unto Joseph and Mary, that he was told to flee into Egypt. The word Egypt comes from the Latin Aegyptus, meaning land of black and burnt skinned people. Well, how can you be hiding a little white baby from King Herod, the soothsayers and the magicians, if it's a little white baby in the land of black or burnt skinned people? No, when you hide an object, you camouflage it. So when the army goes in the jungle, they wear green, because that's the color of the wilderness. When they're in the desert, they wear beige fatigues, because that's the color of their environment. When they're in the snow, they wear white fatigues, because that's the color of the environment. When they're on the night mission, they wear all black, because that's the color of the environment. Well, how could Jesus be a little white baby among a land of black and burnt skinned people and not be found out? No, he was black, and he hid among black people. It's imperative that we know that, because if we don't know that and we expect him to return, then we might miss him when he shows up. The first thing you must know, all praise is due to Allah. The first thing you must know is the identity of the one that you're looking for. Otherwise, you could be standing right in his midst and not even know he's the one. And I believe that has happened to us. We're going to see as the time goes on today. Master Farad Muhammad taught his servant, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, and the honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has broken down the teaching so beautiful, like no human being has ever done before. Some people don't like when you talk about a man. They say, no, the word is important. The man is more important than the word. Jesus said, you read the scriptures, and in them you think you have life, but they testify of me. The most honorable Elijah Muhammad answers inside of the lessons that the students should be able to show that the prophecies of the Bible and Holy Quran are fulfilled in a word. And all students should be able to answer them in the past, the present, and the future tense, being perfect. Then in number 11 of lesson number 1, we read that my word is my bond, and bond is what? Life. So is interchangeable with equals. So when you say word is bond, bond is life, word equals bond, bond equals life, that means that they can be interchanged with one another. So if we are to show that the lessons that our Savior gave us are the fulfillment of Bible and Holy Quran in a word, it's not something that comes out of our mouth. It's not the organization of the vibration of sound or the writing down of characters on a piece of paper. The word that proves that the lessons are the fulfillment of Bible and Quran is the way we, the FOI and the MGT, live the teaching. Our word becomes bond, and our bond becomes life, and we don't need no books no more. All praise is due to Allah. All praise is due to Allah. So when Master Farad Muhammad taught the sisters on what bedtime story to read, he said, I want you to read these words. My name is W.F. Muhammad. Not only are we instructed to read and listen to that word, but we are instructed to recite that word. It don't say his name was W.F. Muhammad. it says, my name is. So you're not teaching the child to look for no white savior. You're not teaching a child to be a punk or a coward in the white man's world, rowing down the stream gently. You're not teaching that child to think as a failure, but you're teaching that child to believe that God works, rests, and resides in them. For who is Master Farad Muhammad? Master Farad Muhammad, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us, was God in person. That Allah God appeared in the person of Master Farad Muhammad. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has caused us to see and to understand that Allah himself is self-created. That there at one time in the universe existed only three forces: the thought of God, the material in the darkness, and electricity. And that thought of God was able to work with the electricity and cause it to strike the material darkness at the right place and at the right time and wake up the first atom of life. And that atom of life began spinning and revolving in that material darkness. And any object that turns or spins produces two forces: centrifugal force and centripetal force. Centripetal force meaning that its spinning pushes objects away, but centrifugal meaning that it begins to spin and draw unto itself like itself. So when this one atom began revolving in space, so teaches the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, it began to attract other dead atoms unto it, and it began to wake up the electrical charge in each one of them until that atom became cells. Those cells became molecules. Those molecules became organs, and those organs became organ systems, and out of a brain came an entire being, and God was formed by himself. All praises are due to Allah. All praise is due to Allah. All praise is due to Allah. The most honorable Elijah Muhammad said that after he formed himself out of the material darkness, and you and I see it in everyday existence, just as that material darkness was 75% water, so is your womb, black woman. Just as there was electricity that had to find the right atom to wake up and start an explosion to begin life, so that sperm has to go up the vaginal tract and find the right egg to spark life inside the womb. It took the originator trillions of years to do it, but he's given us the power to do it now in 9 months. Man, that's beautiful. The all-wise originator noticed that after bringing himself into existence, that there existed within himself imperfection. Thus, he studied himself and calculated his imperfection as the originator and figured out a methodology, a strategy, a tactic that he could employ to bring birth to a perfect version of himself. After calculating, he realized that he was only going to remain in existence physically for approximately 1,000 years. So he had to set up history in advance that would bring birth to certain things that would one day produce that certain man that would be the perfect version of himself. After doing the mathematical computation, he concluded that it would be about 76 trillion years from the time of his study. And when you look in the Quran, under the 76th surah, it's called The Man. Why? Because the man was the first perfect man named Master Farad Muhammad in the hells of North America, coming from the east unto the west, the God. All praise is due to Allah. But Master Farad Muhammad, all praise is due to Allah. Master Farad Muhammad did not come to occupy the seat of Godship alone. He came to invite all of our people to that seat. So Master Farad Muhammad, he called himself Master. Why? Because Master, of course, is an owner. Someone has complete authority and control over something. But there's also a such thing as a master disc, a master tape. The original document is called the master copy. And when you have a master, your goal is to produce a reproduction system that will be able to reproduce duplicate versions of that thing that's called master. Well, that's what the Nation of Islam is. It's a spiritual duplication process designed to produce more Master Farad Muhammad's, more gods out of those of us that are citizens in this nation. All praise is due to Allah. Thus, so now the 76th surah is the man. But when you get ready to leave the Quran, it's the men. Why? Because the man has reproduced himself and made many gods like himself. We ain't never taken point number 12 off the back of the paper. We got to go to get point number 4,400,000,000 to make everybody into a god of the original family. All praise is due to Allah. All praise is due to Allah. So the babies were taught, say, my name is W.F. Muhammad. Because you're saying that I am God. Meaning that I plan to study. I plan to eat. I plan to act and think. I plan to pray and work in a way that I don't have to sit on my knees and throw a prayer in the outer space. But I will communicate with Allah, the originator, to bring birth to the power within my own self. And by way of the power and the law of attraction, I will answer my own prayers. The most honorable Elijah Muhammad said to us that there are 14 billion brain cells. And thought travels at 24 billion miles per second. Well, if thought travels at 24 billion miles per second around 14 billion brain cells, that's speed in rotation. Well, that centrifugal force begins to draw unto you that which you think. So if you think weak, you attract weak people. If you think strong, you attract strong people. If you think success, you will attract people, circumstances, angels, and forces into your life that will bring birth to success. More important, even from the Honorable Louis Farrakhan, than the prayer itself is the attitude we take to the prayer. The Honorable Minister has told us that if you go to prayer with the attitude of doubt, then you can say all the right words, make all the right steps, do the ablution perfect. But if you doubt that Allah is God, and besides him there is no God, and he can answer your prayers, then you can do everything right and still not get that prayer answered like you wanted it to. Does that make sense? Yes, so the children say, my name is W.F. Muhammad. We say, my name is W.F. Muhammad, because we are striving to be a representative and a reflection of the all-wise Creator. Does that make sense? Yes, it goes on to say that I came to North America by myself. Why? Because you and me, we cannot afford to be in this because our husbands are in it. You can't be in this because your wife is in it. You can't have your faith in Allah just because your mama and them believed in it. You have to establish your own independent faith in Allah and Master Farad Muhammad and the messenger and the minister in order for you to remain steadfast in the cause. You can't borrow nobody else's faith. All praises are due to Allah. It says my uncle was brought over here by the trader 379 years ago. My uncle cannot talk his own language. He does not know that he is my uncle. He likes the devil because the devil gives him nothing. How can you like someone that gives you nothing? Except that you believe yourself to be less than nothing. So the slave master worked hard from morning to night to make sure that you and me thought ourselves to be less than nothing. So if he ever gave us nothing, we would appreciate it because it was at least above what we thought of ourselves. Does that make sense? You don't kidnap human beings. That's how you treat animals. You don't put human beings in shackles. That's what you do to animals. You don't beat them and burn them at the stakes. That's how you treat animals. You don't put human beings on no auction block. That's what you do to animals. You don't beat human beings with whips. That's what you do to animals. So the goal of the slave master was to treat us as less than what we really were until we began to believe that we actually were that. It is a scientific fact that if I can put it in your mind in the form of a thought, that all thoughts become words, all words become actions, all actions become habits, and all habits form your character, and your character dictates your destiny or your future. So if you've got the wrong original thought in your mind, then the future don't look too good. You all right? It goes on to say, why does he like the devil? Because the devil put fear in him when he was a little boy. Well, why does he fear now? Since he's a big man. Not only is he a man, but he's a big man. Meaning that he's a man grown, but he also has athletic ability. He also is stronger than everybody else is. He can jump higher than everybody else can jump. He can even hit a golf ball now better than everybody else can hit a golf ball. Huh? He can float from the free throw line. Huh? He can win 7 championships. Is that right? Ain't never been nothing wrong with black people's body. It's just been something wrong with our minds. Can't nobody run like we run. Can't nobody jump higher than we can jump. Can't nobody sing better than we can sing or dance better than we can dance. No one's stronger than we are. We have been made physically great but mentally weak by the slave master. So now that even though we are a big man because we are paralyzed with a psychic disease called fear, we now are suffering from a premature cognitive commitment as a disease. What is premature cognitive commitment? If you have an elephant that you take as a baby and tie it to a string, and that baby elephant tries to break that string and is unable to do so, every time it fails, it sends a message to its memory that I can't do. Eventually, that elephant will be a full-grown elephant, strong enough not only to break the string, but to pull the whole tent down. But he will be tied to that same string and unable to break free. Not because there's something wrong with the elephant's trunk or the strength of his body, but because there's something wrong with his mind. You can take fish and put them in an aquarium, put a piece of glass in between it, and every time the fish swim and they hit their head, they send a signal to their memory that this is as far as I can go. At a certain point, you can remove the glass, and the fish will swim and stop and turn back around. Not because it can't go or because something wrong with its gills or fins, but because there's something wrong with the fish's mind. You can take fleas and put them in a jar, put plastic on top of that jar, and they'll jump. And every time they hit that plastic, they will say to themselves, that's as far as we can jump. You can eventually take the plastic away, and the fleas will jump but never leap out that jar. Not because there's something wrong with the legs of the flea, but because there's something wrong with the mind of the flea. I'm saying black people, ain't nothing wrong with our bodies. We the greatest people that ever lived. It's just something wrong with our minds right now. It's only one thing you can do to move that fish, that flea, and that elephant. And that is put some fire on it. You catch that tent on fire and the elephant's gonna break free. You put fire underneath that jar and that flea's jumping out. You put fire on the edge of that aquarium, and that's what God's gonna do to America. He gonna put fire on this country to wake us up that we can be the gods we supposed to be. All praise is due to Allah for the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. All praise is due to Allah. He goes on to say that this man fears now that he's a big man because the devil taught him to eat the wrong food. That means that this fear, this negative psychological trait, even though it is a mental and a spiritual quality, you can adapt it from consuming physical food. All of our lives we have been knowing subconsciously that what you eat does affect what you think. When you walk into a room and it seems like they've been talking about you, you say, something seems fishy around here. Is that right? Y'all know I'm telling the truth. Back in the 60s, they used to call people jive turkeys. Is that right? When somebody was afraid, we called them what? A chicken. When 50 Cent and Ja Rule or anybody in the industry is squabbling with one another, we call it what? Beef. Showing that somehow in the nature of us, God already told us something. And we know that the food that we eat actually has an effect on what we think. Y'all with me? The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said to us Friday that Satan desires to settle on the best part of the planet Earth, the brain, with a goal that he might be able to get to the soul. So now you look at this attempt to gain access to the heart and soul of man. One, he's desiring to post up on the brain to affect the heart and soul. But do you remember that saying that the best way to a man's heart is through his? So now Satan is so wise that he not only comes by way of miseducation, by way of lies and deceit, by way of subliminal mental programming, but he even puts weakness inside the food that he might get us through the stomach and get to our heart. Y'all with me? So the food that we begin to eat has caused us to become mentally weak. You are what you eat. Anything that you eat, you adopt the characteristics of it. Do you realize that when the white man kills the cows and kills the various meat that we consume, that they line them up for mass murder? And they attach a sedation cable to most of the animals? And every cow that walks forward is looking at their brother or their mother or their father, a bull, being head cut off? So every time you think of thought, that thought produces a chemical reaction. And that chemical reaction gets in your blood. And that blood becomes a part of you. So when the animal is being killed by the white man, we are eating the animal. But we are eating the blood of that animal. Therefore, we are eating the last thoughts of that animal. And since white folks is wringing chicken necks, since white folks is killing cows and slaughtering pigs, we adopt a fear of the white man because the animal had it whenever he died. Y'all all right? The most honorable Elijah Muhammad in the message to the black man said, and when you say the most honorable Elijah Muhammad or the message to the black man, your ears should tune up real quick. It ain't no, it's matter of fact, it's better than even saying the Bible says so and so and such and such. The only difference between that which was revealed in the word of Allah to the prophets of the past and that which was revealed to the messenger, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, and now the honorable Louis Farrakhan, is that we ain't put it in a leather binder yet. We ain't put it on onion paper yet. We ain't sold it with a built-in bookmark yet. But the teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad is just as much revealed scriptures as Bible and Quran, if not more, when you really understand it. All praise is due to Allah. All praise is due to Allah. The most honorable Elijah Muhammad said in the message to the black man that the number one enemy to the salvation of our people is fear of the slave master and whatever the slave master dislikes. This is why they're so afraid of the honorable Louis Farrakhan. It is a known fact that when you are dealing with a beast, and that's what the scripture calls the rulers of this world, it calls them beasts. Is that right? That when a beast confronts you, the object of the beast is to make you afraid. But science has shown that if in fact you show no fear, then you have the ability to take the fear you would have had and give it to the beast. The Jews have been trying to scare Farrakhan. The government been trying to put fear in Farrakhan, haven't they? But he ain't never bowed down. He ain't never scratched where he does not itch. He ain't never laughed when ain't nothing funny. He ain't never bent over to pick up something somebody else dropped. He ain't never punked out on us. And now the Jews done got scared of Farrakhan. Now the government done got scared of Farrakhan. Why? Because the beast that confronted him, he put the fear they tried to put in him back in they behind.
I went to the mosque in Indianapolis, small little study group, and as I heard the teachings being taught, I listened, but I wasn't convicted.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Y'all understand the difference between believing and being convicted? See, one of the values of coming to the mosque is that when you come to the mosque, you are getting knowledge. And inside of knowledge is evidence. And evidence is what allows your mind to convert beliefs into convictions. And once you are convicted, conviction gives you permission to throw your whole self at what you believe in. When I was there, and I'm being honest with you, I heard the teachers that were teaching inside of the mosque there, and my bones shook. My bones rattled. I believed, but I wasn't convicted. But there was a special Wednesday night meeting, and there was a guest minister that came. And this guest minister took the rostrum and taught a subject called the power of the X. And after I heard that minister break down the wisdom of the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, I said, in the way that man teaches, I'm getting knowledge, but in that knowledge is some evidence. And that evidence is causing my belief to become a conviction. And that conviction caused me that day to say, I'm ready to throw my whole self into the Nation of Islam. That special guest minister that converted me from a believer into one being convicted and caused me to take the step to join the Nation of Islam as an FOI is Minister Tony Muhammad. That's the one that converted me all the way inside of the process. I thank Allah for him. And I'm pleased to announce that girlfriend that introduced me to that message to the black man, that girlfriend that dropped them 2 cassette tapes, that girlfriend, we were together when we were 14 years of age, and we got married at the age of 19, and she's right here, the mother of 3 of my children. She fished me in. We thank Allah. She planted the seed of the truth into my mind, and the seed began to grow. And as I was in the womb of the study group inside of Indianapolis, I was growing in the womb, but I wasn't ready to be born as a soldier in the nation. But there was a doctor standing outside the womb that delivered me all the way into the process. So I thank Allah for Dr. Tony Muhammad. Thank Allah for you, sir. All praise is due to Allah. Is everybody all right? This subject, sisters and brothers, titled How to Love a Black Woman and How to Love a Black Man. I thought that How to Love a Black Woman would have got a little bit better response than that. Y'all want to try it again, sisters? No, let me just, I'm going to talk to sisters real quick. Throughout the course of this lecture, there's going to be some stuff that I'm going to say that y'all been wanting to say. But you know, had you said it, it could have caused a little situation. But see, you're not saying it, I'm saying it. But if I say it, it has one effect on the mind of the man that hears it. But if you as a sister hear something you've been wanting to say, but you didn't want to say it because you didn't want the conflict that was attached to it, if you say that's right, go ahead. Hallelujah, amen, clap, teach on that, black man. Then what you have access to, sisters, is what we call the ricochet effect. That means he gonna hear the truth one time from my mouth, but when you say that's right, go ahead, it's gonna bounce off his mind again. And it doubles the absorption capacity of the subconscious mind of that. You understand what I'm trying to say? And you know, when I say how to love a black woman, the reason it should generate a great response is because, as a general rule, in today's society, we have not been loving black women properly. Am I telling the truth? Sisters, yesterday, it was against the law for a black man to marry a black woman. But today, you got to make a law almost to get him to do it. So when I say that the subject is how to love a black woman, it should generate, you know, some y'all want to try? Y'all want to try it again? Okay, all right. Cameraman, take 2. So today's subject, sisters and brothers, is titled How to Love a Black Woman. Let me see if the brothers were paying any attention. And also how to love that black man. It works both ways. So y'all missed out, brothers, and I'm not doing a take 2. Y'all just got to stay with me. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan was diagnosing the condition of the black community and the black nation. And he said this. He said the number one threat to our national security as a people. Some, when you hear that, first word popped in your mind was the Illuminati. The Bilderbergers, the Trilateral Commission, the Committee of 300, the 8 royal families, the DuPonts or the Rockefellers or whatnot, Mr. or Mrs. Jew so-and-so. But when he said the number one threat to our national security as a nation of people, he didn't mention the Illuminati. He didn't mention the ATF, the CIA, or the FBI. He didn't mention the U.S. government. He said the number one threat to our national security as a people is divorce. Then he said the success of our marriages is the success of our nation. Thank you for listening. I greet you. That's big. Do you know, sisters and brothers, that whenever we were first released from slavery, y'all see that? That's that quote unquote. You put something in parentheses, that means it don't really mean what you say it means. It just is something that's kind of similar. You understand? So we put when slavery ended, because slavery didn't end. In fact, we're more slaves now in 2019 than we were in 1555. By the legal definition of a slave. The legal definition of a slave, according to Webster, is one that is voluntarily submitted to a so-called superior power and has lost their power of resistance. Well, in 1555, we didn't volunteer to get on a ship named Jesus. In 1555, we never lost our power of resistance. If we did, then why did they have to keep us in the bottom of the ship? If we lost our power of resistance, why do sharks today still travel the same route as the transatlantic slave trade? It's because when we were coming into slavery, we would rather go overboard or throw our children overboard to be food for sharks than to be brought to America to be made a slave. Harriet Tubman said the statement, but it was the mindset in the nature of the original man. Give me freedom or give me death. We never lost our power of resistance. If we did, why did they chain our feet? Chain our We never lost our power of resistance. If we did, why was there an overseer? Why was there a whip? Why was there a cat of nine tails? You chain the hands because you're afraid somebody's going to fight you with them. You chain your feet because you're afraid that they might kick you with them. So we didn't lose our power of resistance then.
That's right.
Well, in 1867, 2 years up from slavery, we should have knew something was wrong that in 1865, they didn't want to call it the Slave Freedom Act. They called it the Emancipation Proclamation. Well, that should have been a red flag within and of itself. The word emancipate, from the Latin word emancipare, means to free from the hand but not to control. So how do you free something from the hand but not the control? Have you ever heard of Wi-Fi?
Yes.
Have you ever heard of Bluetooth? Okay, let's go all the way. Have you ever heard of a remote control? See, a remote control, all you have to do to make a remote control a television or a device wirelessly is you have to have both of them on the same frequency. Has anybody in here ever lost their remote before? You don't got to raise your hand, but y'all. And you go to the store and you buy what they call a universal remote. Then they tell you that look at the branded TV that you have. Do you have a Samsung? Do you have a Sony? Do you have an LG? Or do you have a Negro? I mean, do you have... And they tell you if you got a Samsung 101-5, then type in the code 15683 and hit enter and it'll sync it up. So the way you control a thing wirelessly is you have it on the same frequency. According to the Bible, God said when he created man, as Brother Tony was saying in Genesis 1:26, he gave us power and dominion over the fish of the sea, the fowl of the air, and every creeping thing that crawled on the earth. When God made man, the original man, we were made in the image and the likeness of God. Y'all didn't hear what I just said. Do you know that if you are made in the image and the likeness of God, that everything that is true about God is true about you? Do you know that if you're made in the image and the likeness of God, that means when God looks at you, he sees himself? Our problem is when we look at ourselves, we don't see God. If man, I'm talking about original man and woman, if we're made in the image and the likeness of God, image is a physical reflection, likeness is a spiritual reflection. That means we look like God on the outside and look like God on the inside. That means, sisters, brothers, you're not a duplicate of God. You are a replica of God. And there's a difference between a duplicate and a replica. A duplicate can look like a thing, but it lacks the power and the function of what it looks like. But when something is a replica, it doesn't just look like, it also has the ability to execute the power and the function of what it's a copy of. You are a replica of God. When that original man was formed, Scripture says that that man was not created in the spirit of timidity, but was created in the spirit of power, love, and self-discipline. Some translations say sound mind. Well, I say self-discipline or sound mind, but you couldn't have sound mind if you don't have some self-discipline. So there were three original frequencies that the original people's brain was set up to operate under. It was power, love, and self-discipline. Y'all still all right?
Yes, sir.
Have anybody ever heard of a man named Willie Lynch?
Yes, sir.
Willie Lynch said that he had in his bag a foolproof plan for controlling slaves. Controlling slaves. He said, if you implement my plan for 1 year, the slaves will become self-refueling or self-perpetuating for 300 years, maybe even 1,000. Another word for self-refueling, self-perpetuating is Bluetooth. Wireless. I'm going to make some remote control Negroes. Look at what Willie Lynch said. He said, I use fear, envy, and distrust for control purposes. Wait a minute. If the original frequency that the original brain was hardwired was power, love, and self-discipline, what are you saying, Willie Lynch? You're saying I got a system that if you put the light against the dark, old against the young, male against female, female against male, one on a small plantation at odds with the one on the big plantation, East Coast versus West Coast. What y'all thought? Y'all thought Tupac and Biggie started that? No, Willie Lynch is the first one started that West Side and East Side. You thought Crips and Blood started the color war? Willie started the color war, but it wasn't red or blue, it was light against dark. No, you stop turning on TV watching original gangsters. And they show you a little brother that was dealing heroin. A little kingpin that was dealing cocaine. And got the nerve to call the show original gangsters. Hell no, the original gangster is the white man. The first gangsters came out of Europe. They were the Celts and the Nomads and the Vikings and the Anglo-Saxons, the Khazars and the Edomites. Them are the original gangsters. You are an OG, but not original gangster. You the original God of the planet, the ruler of everything that you see. All praise is due to Allah. So what Willie Lynch is saying is that I found that the black man's brain operates on the frequency of power, love, and self-discipline, and by it being on that frequency, they are recipients of commands from God and messengers. But if I can get into that black man's head and renegotiate the wiring and take out power, love, and self-discipline and replace it with fear, envy, and distrust, this is the frequency of a devil. So now whenever Martin Luther King spoke, he pushed the button, but we wasn't on the frequency of power, love, and self-discipline no more. Now when Nat Turner pushed the button, we didn't move like we should have moved. Now today in 2019, Farrakhan is giving a word, but we're not moving like we're supposed to be moving. What happened to us, black woman and black man? Somebody renegotiated the frequency of our brain, took it from power, love, and self-discipline, and now we are operating under fear, envy, and distrust. That kind of brain responds to white people, not the original people. Yeah, y'all still all right? Yes, sir. So the remote control slave is the real slave. Do you know that slavery was a business? No, excuse me. Slavery is a business? What? The only difference between us and them is that we are wealthier slaves than what they were. But slaves, we are still that. Whenever they had the Emancipation Proclamation, another red flag should have been that the title that they gave us when they let us go from the Emancipation Proclamation, listen to these words, a freed slave. That's an oxymoron. You know what oxymoron is, right? It's when you put two words together that represent opposite in meaning, but you describing one thing at one time. Like a ham sandwich on wheat bread. That's oxymoron. If you're going to eat the ham, you might as well put it on the white bread. We were at P.F. Chang's one day, and they had an item on the menu called long life noodles. Oxymoron, ain't no noodle going to give you a long life. It's going to take your life from you. What? Sisters, y'all ready for this? Y'all ready for the ricochet? I'm warming you up now. Another oxymoron. Y'all ready? Lazy man is an oxymoron. I thought y'all, oh, never mind. I don't, did y'all see that?
Yes, sir.
I came down the court, I pointed up and everything, through the open, you did. Oxymoron. You can't be freed and a slave, you one or the other. So in 1867, he said, what does all this have to do with how to love a black woman and how to love a black man? There's a reason why we don't know how to do it. Have you ever thought about what classes, seminars, or lectures that bees go to learn how to love the male and female bee? You ever heard of none? You mean to tell me the lions and the ants and the insects and the beasts of the field, they don't take no classes, they automatically know how to choose a mate? And how to nurture their young? Have you heard anything about bees and the divorce rate? Ants and child abuse? Elephants and rape? Question is, why is it that all of the beasts of the field and the insects of the ground and the birds that fly in the air, why are they able to love the male and the female in perfect harmony and balance, and the human being who is the supreme of all beings can't do it? It's because the difference between us and them is that a creature of the field, an insect of the land, a bird of the air does not have free will where they can deviate from their nature. So because they're living in accord with their nature, they don't need any training. They naturally are innate being themselves. So when Master Father Muhammad came, even though he brought us supreme wisdom, a wisdom that had never been known in the world before, the greatest magnitude of spiritual scientific knowledge that the world has ever seen, even greater than the originator of the heavens and the earth had over 78 trillion years ago. But when he described his wisdom, he said, you can sum up my teaching in 6 words. Accept your own.
Yes, sir.
And be yourself. Why? Because if you're being yourself, nobody got to teach you how to love. You're operating in accord with your nature. Y'all all right? Boy, these are the good problems right here. Y'all see all these problems? We got seating problems. We got audience rotation. So those of you on Facebook Live, if you in the LA area, make your way to the mosque. You still got time. But right now we got seats all outside of the building, screens up. We got rotating audiences. Y'all, in a minute there ain't gonna be no seats for the brothers. We're gonna have to just have all sisters and guests in here. Those are good problems that you like having. All praise are due to Allah. So in 1867, 2 years up from slavery. Y'all still with me? Yes, sir. There was a debate in the halls of Congress about black people being allowed to get a college education or higher education. And as they began to debate as to whether or not they were going to allow black people, you say, why would they even be debating that? Because black people were not brought to America to become chemists, lawyers, engineers, or doctors. We were brought to America to become hewers of wood and drawers of water. We were brought to America to become human paper plates for white people. Disposable people that they could use our back and keep our brain weak, that we could work for them to build them a heaven. Never were we brought to America to become citizens of this nation. We are immigrants, but we are involuntary immigrants. Did you hear what I said? Involuntary means we didn't ask to come here. We got kidnapped. We were robbed of our names, our culture, religion, moral ways, folkways, norm and God. We were Caucasianized by the white man. We were westernized by the white man. And Christianized by the white man. And none of that they did to us was designed to make us powerful, proud, and productive people. It was designed to make us good slaves for them. So in 1867, as they began to debate whether or not they were going to allow Negroes to get higher education, they decided, yes, we will allow Negroes to go to college, but there's two rules. Number one, black people cannot go to school with my white children. And number two, whenever you set up your black college, there's 3 sciences that you will not be allowed to teach inside that school system. Those 3 sciences were the science of business, the science of warfare, and the science of mating. In other words, Negro, get you a degree, but you will never be taught how to really build wealth as a black person. You see that? Only about 25 people clap. Do you know, sisters and brothers, that in 1867, the black wealth was 1% of the American wealth? You got your seatbelt on? In 2018, it's still 1%? You say, but I thought we had a whole bunch of money. Yeah, we got dollars, but we don't have no sense. Look at it. Income and wealth are 2 different concepts. Income is the money you acquire by exchanging your time for a good product or a service. But wealth is when you exchange that money for something that either holds its value or increases in value over time. When I said that, your mind should have thought about real estate. Have you noticed that there's nothing else in the economic world that has the adjective real on it but land and property? Why is the only thing that has the adjective real on it land and property ownership? It's because that's the only thing that is real, which presupposes everything else is fake. Okay, let me see. Who is the original man? Can I get some Muslims to roll with me? The original man is the maker. Oh, okay. Now listen to this. The maker, the renter. Don't even sound right, does it? That sounds so soft. Sounds so weak. The maker, the renter. The cream of it just kills the whole thing. The maker and the so wealth is about ownership of that which is real. Income is about acquisition of money that's a medium of exchange. But when you get that money, don't buy the bag. Well, if you can afford it, buy the bag. No, okay, hold up. Let me talk. Can I talk to sisters real quick? Sisters, let me explain something. It is better to have a $40 bag with $800 in it than to have an $800 bag with $40. Does that make sense? That makes sense? I didn't. I'm gonna be honest. How to love a black woman? I didn't know that them bags cost like that. Cause my wife never really tripped on stuff like that. She would go to Target or Target. That's how they say it. And she'd be cool. As long as it looked good, it could be $19.99. She wasn't tripping. But I seen all the sisters walking around with all these big old nice pretty bags, and I said, you know what? My wife don't never ask for nothing. I'm getting ready to go get her one of them bags. I went to Nordstrom. Come back to present time. Are you in present time? Well, that was an engram. So I went in there. I don't know nothing. Never bought a number before. Sisters, y'all may knew I didn't know. I'm looking, I say, you know what? I'm not going to play no games now. It's for my wife. I love her. I want her to know I love her. I don't want no little bitty one. I don't want the one hanging on the thing like earrings. No, I want that big, that one right there. I took that thing. I said, let me see. I'm going to get this one. Let me see how much it costs. I mean, where's the price tag? Then I took all the stuffing out. I said, where's the price tag? I got another one looking just like it. There's no price. I said, ma'am, excuse me. There's no price tags on any of these bags. I'm trying to see how much it costs. She said, sir, what you want to do is you want to look on the inside zipper pocket and unzip the pocket and the price tag is in there. I said, wait a minute. Why y'all hiding the price tag? And I went in there, poured it out. $468. Excuse me. Look, this says, I did what you said. This says $468 for this bag. She said, yes, sir, that's correct. I said, man, this is how much these Coach bags cost? She said, yes. I said, well, do y'all have an assistant coach? A referee bag? A sixth man? Man. Y'all all right? But we were never taught the science of business. If we were, we would not spend 97% of our money and still blame the white man for 95% of our problems. We wouldn't spend money with white folks if we really knew the science of business. See, when you know the science of business, you use your money to reward your friends and punish your enemies. But by the fact that we blame the white man for 95% of our problems and still spend 97% of our money with them is a sign that we don't know the science of finance. If we knew the science of finance, we would not go broke trying to look rich. What? Respect is not bought. Respect is earned. Are you all right?
Yes, sir.
$1.1 trillion has come through black people's hands for the last 3 years straight, making us richer than Spain and Mexico. Mexico as a nation brings in $637 billion a year. We got them beat by $5 billion. Spain brings in $708 billion a year. We got them beat by $400 billion. Yet when you go to Spain and you count the population, they have a landmass of 208,000 square miles, which is 1.3 million acres of land with 46 million citizens living on that land. They have their own schools, their own hospitals, their own factories, their own farmland. They have their own little world. But we got $400 billion more than they do, and we don't even own businesses in our own neighborhood. We have not been taught the science of finance. No, we have to start supplying our own needs. Just a public service announcement. The power of Islam is not limited to a rostrum. I want to see the power of Islam from the countertop of a bakery, from the countertop of a restaurant, from the countertop of a clothing store. See, that is where the expression of Islam, business is warfare. So if all that we do is meet up a couple times a week and talk truth, and we don't translate that truth into an everyday economic enterprise where we are separating from our 400-year-old enemy doing for self. Let me tell you something, black man and woman, you cannot pass on a job to your children. There is no legacy working for a white man. The only way you're going to have a legacy that you can pass on to your offspring that will live when you're dead is you have to own a business that you can pass on to the next generation. And you tell your son and your daughter, don't sell this to no crackers. Your job is to stand on mama and daddy's shoulders and take this business to the next level. But never to punk out and sell it. You just got to make it better. Another lecture for another time. The Mind of Muhammad, coming from a book called The Supreme Wisdom Lessons given to us by our Savior, Master Farad Muhammad. It says on the cover, for registered Muslims only. But you can get it on the internet now. You might be able to Yahoo or Google it on the internet, but one thing you can't Google, and that's understanding. You cannot Google insight. You cannot Google that which is within inside of the lessons, behind the words of the lessons. You have to submit to the rules of the lessons, to the guiding principles of the lessons, and live the life that the lessons dictate in order for you to extract the understanding of those lessons. Understanding is the first phase, or the second phase, or the byproduct of submission. This is why when we first came into the contact with the teachings, and we studied it, and we got registered, wrote the letter, recited student enrollment, actual facts, and got what we call X'd up. When we got that X at the end of our name, we went back and read the message to the black man and swore somebody added some pages and chapters to the same book we had been reading before we got registered. Why? Because Allah grants us understanding by way of our submission. Ramadan will be starting tomorrow. And those of us that have participated in the regimen of Ramadan bear witness that it seems like somebody added some new chapters to the Quran every time Ramadan comes. Why? Because submission dictates understanding. And the more we have submitted in 06, the greater 07 Ramadan reading will be. The more we submitted in 07, the greater the 08 reading of the Holy Quran will be for you and me during this sacred and holy month. Ramadan is a blessed regimen. It's not something we should run from, it's something we should run to. However, Ramadan is not for everyone. Did you hear me? If you're already perfect, you shouldn't practice Ramadan. If you don't need no purification, Ramadan is not for you. If you are sin-free and flaw-free and fault-free, then you don't need Ramadan. But for the rest of us, we're going to wake up before the sun wakes up, read our Holy Quran, pray to Allah, abstain from food and drink during the daylight, not argue, not quarrel, not lie, steal, cheat, and engage in no sexual activity during the daylight hours. Man, when he was created according to the Bible, with power and dominion over the fish of the sea, the fowl of the air, and every creeping thing that crawls on the earth. Man was given an assignment to maintain that power. Be fruitful. Is that right? Multiply. Replenish the earth and subdue it. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has caused us to see and to understand that there's a difference between multiplication and being fruitful. Even though they sound the same, one is physical while the other one is spiritual. Multiplication is to make babies. We've been doing a good job at that. But being fruitful is like marrying ideas and concepts in your mind that bring birth to new ideas and concepts that advance our intelligence. So we've been multiplying physically, but we have not been being as fruitful spiritually as we should have been. But if we had built our minds up, then when we brought children into the world, we would have had the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding required to guide them in the world that we brought them into. Then he says in the scripture to replenish the earth and subdue it. Well, the word replenish means to replace with something better. Come on. It is the job of every mother to try to make their daughter better than self. It's the job of every father to strive to make their son better than themselves. It's the goal of every teacher not just to make the student like him or equal to him, but for that student to stand on the shoulders of his teacher and carry out his will and assignment to a whole nother level. That's why you can't dismiss the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. You can't love one without the other. You can't like the messenger Elijah Muhammad and not like the apostle, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. For he is the one on the shoulders of that messenger, carrying out an extension of the work of the Lamb of God, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. Well, since man was given power and dominion over the fish of the sea, fowl of the air, and every creeping thing that crawls on the earth, the Holy Quran says it in Surah 14 like this, that Allah God created the seas subservient to man and all the ships thereof. He made the sun, the moon, and the stars subservient to man, and everything in the heaven and everything inside the earth subservient. To be subservient means to be less than. So if we are given authority over everything in the heaven and everything in the earth, we as human beings are superior to the planet. We're superior to the air, to the stars, to the sun, and to the moon. These are called in the Bible a glory of God. But man is not called a, he's called the glory of God, which means that we are supposed to have a level of mastery over the forces of nature and over every physical thing in the outside world. But it becomes difficult to gain control of the forces of nature when we don't have control of the forces of urges within ourselves. So Ramadan becomes that holy regimen by which for a 30-day window of time we exercise a new thought process that brings birth to new words coming out of our mouth. Those new words bring birth to new actions. Those new actions bring birth to new habits we form in Ramadan. And those habits make a new character, and our character makes an entire new future. So we have the ability in a 30-day window of time to come out of Ramadan a completely new and better creature by the help and grace of Allah. All praise is due to Allah. Man, all praise is due to Allah. Man is supposed to have control over the earth, but if man can't control self, then earth becomes a difficult task. But if man can gain control of the bone of himself, then he has the authority over the rock of the planet. If man can gain control over the thirst and blood of self, he can gain mastery over the waters of the planet. If man can gain mastery over his own flesh, then he can gain control over the vegetation. For the molecular structure and system that both are set up on are identical. One's just a macrocosm while the other one is a microcosm. The rock of the earth is like the bone of man, so teaches the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. The vegetation of the earth is like the flesh of man. In fact, if you were to go pull a leaf off the tree and put a leaf next to your hand, they both look alike. Why? Because the nature of them are one and the same. Some scientists even say that if you were to lay out the globe in flat form and put body next to it, that the way veins and arteries move in the body are the same way lakes, rivers, and streams move on top of the face of the earth. Well, we have a problem gaining control over the forces of nature because we don't control the urges within self. But if we can gain control over the water that goes into our body, over the food that goes into our body, and over our sexual appetite, then these three urges are more powerful than any other bad habit we have in the world. For we need food. We need water. Is that right? That's right. But we don't need a pack of cools. We don't need no alcohol. Is that right? We don't need 5 meals a day. So by gaining mastery over a natural need, we have control then over the unnatural wants of this world. So I pray Allah that we will all participate in this month of Ramadan. All praise is due to Allah. In Ramadan, we read the Holy Quran from one cover to the next. Is that right? There's a saying in science that you are what you eat. And for every physical law, there's also a spiritual counterpart. So just as a human being could eat and digest physical food, you and I also can digest spiritual food. And if what we eat physically, we adopt the nature of it, then what we eat spiritually, we will do the same thing. Did y'all hear me?
It's impossible to eat swine flesh and not become a greedy individual. It's impossible to eat swine flesh and not become a dirty individual. It's impossible to eat the swine's flesh and not take on the characteristics of the swine flesh. Whatever you eat, when you eat it, you eat the nature of that which is in its blood. Well, the DNA of the Holy Quran starts off in its introduction, and it says, in this book, there is no doubt in it. Well, if there is no doubt in the Holy Quran, and we are eating it in Ramadan, then when we eat it, we adopt the nature of that which we consume. So we begin to adopt the characteristics of walking the earth with no doubt in us. And if we have no doubt, you can't bring birth to hypocrisy. If you have no doubt, you don't have failure. You have victory, you have success. Everything your hands touch, you will be able to make it happen. All praise is due to Allah. The Holy Quran is without a shadow of a doubt the revelation of Allah. It is proved in its mathematical coding under the number 19. The number 19, we have been taught, represents the secret to the mystery of God. There are 114 chapters in the Holy Quran. That's 19 times 6. The total number of verses in the Holy Quran are 6,346, or 19 times 334. The first statement in the Holy Quran is in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, and it consists of 19 Arabic letters. The first revelation that was given to the Prophet was made up of 19 words. The total number of letters of this first revelation was 76 words, which is 19 times 4. The last chapter revealed has 19 words, and the first verse in this 110th chapter is 19 letters. Did y'all hear me? The name Allah appears in the Holy Quran 2,698 times, or in other words, 19 times 142. The word Quran appears 38 different chapters, which is 19 times 2. The total number of times the Quran is mentioned is 57, which is 19 times 3. Did y'all hear me? Now, this is not a coincidence, brothers and sisters. This is not some way of osmosis. It is a 626 septillion to 1 chance that the Holy Quran could be mathematically precise like it is and not be the revelation from Almighty God Allah. So it is the truth 100% unadulterated from Allah as He revealed it. But more significant even than the book itself, for all books are great in their service to man. All principles are great in their service of humanity. Is that truth? Yes, sir. So as the Holy Quran is a book, which is really our nature written down on paper, it is designed to reacquaint us with that which is already programmed within self that we have lost the ability to read and tune in on our own. Anytime that a people cannot listen to their own Christ consciousness, or hear their own Allah awareness, or hear Muhammad in their own mind, Allah God, out of His mercy, brings a messenger outside of self to reacquaint us with the messenger of God inside of self. But when man and woman really know how to hear what we call the self-accusing spirit, or the God within, then the exterior messenger of God is not necessary except to wake up the one that is within inside of self. Does that make sense? So whenever this book, Holy Quran, was revealed, it is a book designed to bear witness to a man. Y'all still with me? The number 19 represents the secret of the mystery of God. Well, this number 19 appears in one place in the Holy Quran. In Surah 74, verse 30. Y'all with me? Yes, sir. Surah 74, verse 30, the number 19 appears. We contend that when the picture of Master Farad Muhammad is made, that there's only one official image of our Savior, Master Farad Muhammad. And that is him with a Holy Quran inside of his hand. And underneath the picture it says, the Holy Quran made flesh. Did y'all hear what I just said? Master Farad Muhammad is the Holy Quran made flesh. Number 19 appears one place in the Quran. Surah 74, verse 30. Master Farad Muhammad made himself known July 4th, 1930. July is the 7th month. So if you took the 7-4, that's July 4th. The number 19 is in the 30th verse. Master Farad Muhammad is the true sign and representation of what the Quran is supposed to produce in its fullest blossom. You say, well, what does that have to do with me? That's Master Farad Muhammad. Well, that same power is inside of self. Look at the basic genetic composition of man. It's called DNA. D is the 4th letter of the alphabet. N is the 14th letter of the alphabet. And A is the 1st letter. 4 plus 14 plus 1 is 19. Why? Because God lives in you, black man and black woman, when you really understand it. All praise is due to Allah. All praise is due to Allah. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has caused us to see and to understand that not only is this book, Quran, the guiding light to help humanity get out of the rut that it has fallen into, but there also must be a key or a searchlight put over the Holy Quran and the Bible that we might be able to get guidance from it. Yes, sir. And since the Holy Quran itself is a sign of a greater version of itself, and that's a human being called Master Farad Muhammad, then we should look for that body of knowledge that Master Farad Muhammad himself wrote. And when we find that body of knowledge, we should hold it dear to our heart, for whatever he says is in it is designed to make us like he's made himself. Does that make sense? Well, that body of knowledge is called the Supreme Wisdom Lessons. Y'all still with me? The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan teaches us that the Supreme Wisdom introduces us to an entire new school of thought and is the foundation for a whole new world. Did y'all hear that? Most people, when they think about the foundation of a new world, they think about buildings, governments, and farmland. Is that right? But Scripture says that whenever God comes, that he makes all things new. Is that right? Well, you can't have a new world if you don't have new things that make up that world. And what makes things? People make things. So in order for you to have a new world, you have to have new things. And to have new things, you have to have new people. And to make new people, you have to have a new mind in that people. And to make a new mind, you have to have a new teaching and a new teacher. This is why our scholar among us, Mother Tainetta Muhammad, has beautifully shown how 154 questions and answers of the Supreme Wisdom show us how Allah God would use the lessons to resurrect us and make us like himself. For 154 is 22 times 7. When you put 22 over 7 as a fraction, it is saying the same as pi. Pi is that 3.1444 number that is used with a radius squared to determine a circumference. Is that right? Go ahead, man. Well, just as you would use a pi to determine a circumference of a circle, the lessons become the new diameter or circumference of our thinking that produces from you and me a whole new sphere of activity superior than what we've seen in the world present. So if you're thinking like somebody, they control you. Is that right? Carter G. Woodson said it like this: whoever prescribes for you your diameter of thinking dictates your circumference of activity. Is that right? The only way that you can think outside of a slave is if you are taught by someone other than a slave master. The only way you can think better than a Negro is if you taught by someone superior to a Negro. Whatever the nature is of the teacher will determine and dictate the circumference of your activity. Well, if you are studying the mind of God, and that becomes the diameter of your thinking, then what kind of actions will we see coming forth from a people that think like God? These lessons go on to say to us in our instructions, number 6, it reads that the minister's class must study and prepare themselves for examination as soon as they are able to. Everyone's final examination will be before Allah, our Savior, which will include all of the form forms of lessons, number one's answers, and all the problems, and a general review of the 3.5 years of labor. Absence in the ministries class must always be investigated. Each Muslim should know all of this by heart. It is all his and her own. The time is ripe for us to reclaim our own, which is knowledge, understanding, and high civilization. We all are equipped. Did y'all hear that? Yes, sir. We all are equipped physically and mentally to accomplish the said above with little study, young, old, men, women, and children. The MGT and GCC should study along with the training and report their progress along with the rest. Interesting, brothers and sisters, is that the MGT and GCC and the function of minister is mentioned in the same instruction. Why? Because, dear sisters, the 7 components that help you to become a better helpmeet of the man you call husband are also to be used by those of us that desire to be helpers of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, to be better and more qualified helpmeets of him. Yes, sir. Did y'all hear me? Yes, sir. So we have to learn how to keep house, take care of an institution that has his children inside of it. Is that right? Yes, we have to learn how to rear the children. We have to learn how to guide all of those that come under our voice where they will be a reflection of the father of the household. Is that right? Yes, we have to learn how to take care of this one that is called our husband. For just as a husband is a manager of the affairs of an owner, Allah, God, and His Christ own the nation of Islam. And they have set the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan in the seat to manage our affairs and guide us safely across the river on his shoulders. So we got to take care of the Honorable Louis Farrakhan. He goes on to say that we must not only be able to take care of the husband, but we have to learn how to sew. Well, whenever you sew, you are taking 2 different pieces of fabric, right? Or more, with the goal of finding a thread that you can use to weave them all together to convert different things that are separate into one thing united. Well, that's the goal of those of us that are helping the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Is to take the Crips and weave them together with the Bloods, to take the Vice Lords and connect them to the GDs, to take the old and put them with the young, the male with the female, the light with the dark. It's our job to sew our people together for our husband. All praise is due to Allah. We also have to learn how to cook. Why? Because when you're cooking, you're devising a recipe. You are putting inside of it seasoning and vegetables, but we found that that's not the whole total of a bowl of soup or any food. Come on. You can have 2 sisters following the same recipe and get what? Different results. Is that right? Well, if they put the same amount of seasoning, salt, garlic powder, pepper, and beans, and green pepper, y'all know what I'm saying. How does yours taste different than hers? It's because the main ingredient of cooking is not necessarily what you get out of your cabinet, but what you get out of your heart. And your emotions go inside of the food that you are cooking. Well, likewise, those of us that are helpers have to have love in our heart for our people, sincerity in our heart for our people and the rise of them. That when we cook them food, it nourishes them and gets them back into divine life. Is that right? We have to learn how to act at home and abroad. It's easy to be a public great person, but what really makes you great is whenever your wife and your children look up to you. It's easy to go out there with security and be seen as something great and noble, because when you dress like a man and you look like a citizen of a nation that has a 78-year legacy, then you are actually able to, in your appearance, borrow the reputation of that man and that movement. So when people look at you and give you respect and honor, pat you on the back and clap for you, you are borrowing some of that from the legacy of the Honorable Louis Farrakhan and from the work of the Nation of Islam for the last 78 years. But when you're at home, you ain't suited and booted. We at home, you don't get to borrow no reputation. You are what you are. So we have to learn not only how to act abroad, but we got to learn how to act at home, so that those that love us the most and know us the best will be able to give us a plus, a representation of God and His Word. All praise is due to Allah. You know, it's interesting that inside of this accomplishment of the said above, and this accomplishment is said to be reclaiming our own knowledge, understanding, high civilization, that there are three categories of people that are mentioned that are normally left out of divine discussion. One is the youth, the women, and also the children. But in this, from Master Farad Muhammad's instructions, he is saying that regardless to whether you are male or female, whether you are young or whether you are old, even if you are a child, you can accomplish the said above, high civilization, knowledge, wisdom, and reclaim your own. Did y'all hear that? Which means that you don't have to be old to be great. And you don't have to be a male to be great. You can be young and still become great. And you can be a woman and still become great. In fact, the legacy of the past shows that young people and women have always done great things. Did y'all hear me? My young brothers and sisters, don't ever let nobody tell you what you can't do. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan told us on August the 3rd that can't is not in the vocabulary of God. In fact, you can't even find the word can't or cannot in the whole Holy Quran. Can't is a cuss word. Add that to your Ramadan list. Take it out. All praise is due to Allah. Every year at Al Muhammad University in Indianapolis, the first day of school, we have a funeral. We have all the children to write out the word can't. And we take all of them to the back and we have a eulogy and everybody buries the word can't. Why? Because for the rest of the year, we don't want to hear you say what you can't do in mathematics. We don't want to hear what you can't do in history, or what you can't do in science, or what you can't do in the line of labor. And every time a child slips up and accidentally says can't in school, we take them back outside. Come on out back. What's buried right there? Can't. Well, if it's buried and it's dead and you can't do nothing with it no more, so go on back to school and say, I am mathematics. I am geometry. I am history. I am science. I am a God. All praise is due to Allah. All praise is due to Allah.
We are the victims of the Willie Lynch syndrome, which means that whenever the mathematics are computed for black people in America and our decision-making process, the social scientists have looked at what black people eat, what we wear, how we relate, husband to wife, father to son, mother to daughter, and they have concluded that 94% of the decisions that we make as a people are rooted in what we were trained on a plantation to do. And only 6% of our decisions that we make in 2013 are based upon our God-centered African culture before we got kidnapped and brought to America. Did y'all hear? Yes. Therefore, whenever one accurately is to diagnose the condition of black people, we have to look at the culture we had on the plantation. Yes. And by studying slave life, we can determine the root of where this life came from. That's right. Y'all ain't real right. We are today everything that they forced us to be yesterday by choice. Am I telling the truth? Yesterday they used to brand us. Today we tatted up.
Yesterday they used to make us eat swine flesh. Now today we buy it and cook it for ourselves. And after we buy the fat back and the rib and the hog maw and the greens, with the foot in it. Did you know that greens were weeds? And since black people on the plantation, we weren't allowed to get good vegetables. And we were out in the cotton picking, or in the field picking cotton and indigo and tobacco. And growing around it would be these weeds. So we would gather up the weeds, growing around the cotton and the tobacco and the indigo and stuff our pockets. Come back to the slave hut, find us a fast-running slave and have him go steal some of master's leftovers. Bring the left what? You think that we just chose to start eating chitlins? Have you smelled some chitlins lately? Some wise people, they take the C out and put an S in. Okay, yeah, you catch that. Because you already know whenever it's time for them chitlins to get cooked. Chitlins are the intestines. It's the intestine that houses the waste of the pig. That's why it smells the way that it smells. And whenever you wake up grandmama downstairs with them in the sink, soaking with a little bleaching, and you say, Grandma, what you doing? Oh, I'm cleaning the chitlins. And you know what it smells like. Eating chitlins is like taking a plastic bag, filling it up with manure, dumping out the manure, boiling the bag, and eating the bag. But that's what we eat right now. And we will stick this foot or the ear or whatever was left over in our weeds and call it a meat. Did you hear it?
Yes, sir.
You remember Kunta Kinte? He didn't want no swine flesh. They had to force that man to eat swine flesh. Yesterday, it used to be illegal for a black man to marry a black woman. Today, you almost have to make a law to convince him to do something. You know what I'm telling you. Everything that was forced on us yesterday, we are volunteering to participate in today. They used to take a strong stud from one plantation, find a fertile black woman from another plantation, bring them together where inside of the horse estate, force them to mate with one another. No love, no affection, no attraction. Just come together with a female and make us a good nigga baby. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And today, what's going on in the black community? A man with a woman barely know her name. No love, no affection. You lay down with him in a cheap hotel. Next thing you know, you bring birth to a black baby. What they used to force us to do yesterday, we are now choosing to do today. Am I telling the truth?
Yes, sir.
Yesterday, it was against the law for us to ride in the front of the bus.
Come on.
Now, every time the bus goes past, we have an automatic secure position in the back of the bus. Yesterday, it used to be illegal to walk on the sidewalk.
That's right.
Now, go through any hood, and black people are always in the middle of the street.
That's right.
Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Right in the South, it used to be against the law to even be happy in front of white people.
That's right.
So they had laughing barrels posted up in the South. Which meant that if you and your family were walking down the street and you found something funny and white people were coming,
Come on.
you had to stick your head in the barrel, get your laugh out, and come back up straight face, so that you wouldn't show you were having any joy in America under white people. Now, in the modern time, whatever beer for mafia dog or one of them,
Come on.
walk past your cubicle.
Come on.
Come on.
Come on.
Immediately, you see them, you change your whole tone.
Yes, sir.
You know know I'm telling the truth. Yesterday we used to be against brothers and sisters based upon the color of their skin. Today we still got that same Negro syndrome. One brother, real dark-skinned brother on the streets selling a Final Call newspaper, a sister pulled up on him and said, "You know what? You pretty cute to be so black." As if black's not beautiful. As if black is, see, black's not a color. You didn't hear what I just said. Black is the essence from which all color comes from. If there were no black man or black woman, there could not be an Indian. There couldn't be a Chinese. There couldn't be a Japanese. There couldn't be a Hispanic. There couldn't even be a white man or woman. Y'all don't believe?
Yes, sir.
Go home and put your paint set together.
Come on now.
Take all the colors of the paint set and mix them all up.
Right.
And when you mix all the colors of the paint set together, it becomes black.
Yes.
Why? Because black is not a color.
Right.
It's the essence from which all color came from.
Yes.
So if anybody should be so cute or cute to be so something, it should be you pretty cute to be so white.
Yes.
You pretty cute to be so pale. You pretty cute to be so high yellow. Black is beautiful, brothers and sisters. Oh, praise you, God, you people alive. Oh, praise God, you people alive. I didn't plan on saying none of this, but a lot of it. The black man and woman of North America, they must absolutely be repaired. When the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, as a great and wise physician, diagnosed the condition of the black man and woman of America and our mental state, listen to what he said. He said the so-called American Negro must be completely re-educated. He didn't stop though. Look what he said. For he is unfit for self. So if a black woman's unfit for herself, how's she gonna make a fit wife? If a black man is unfit for himself, how is he gonna make a fit husband? Y'all all right?
Yes, sir.
So today we want to look at a methodology that we can employ to restructure the frequency of our brain, wherein it could be tuned into the will of God, the way of God, the liberation of our people, and maximum success. Because when the slave master got us, Willie Lynch said he used fear, envy, and distrust for control purposes, didn't he? That means that he was able to take fear, envy, and distrust as emotional teaching to re-hardwire our brain to tune it up for white supremacy. Did y'all hear me?
Yes, sir.
So in order for us to be deprogrammed and reprogrammed, then we too are going to have to find a new formula to get our brains back in the frequency of God and the liberation of our people. Y'all still with me?
Yes, sir.
Well, if 94% of our decisions that we make are born out of slavery, 90% of our problems come from slavery, then slavery is the root of our problem in many ways. There's some other stuff that went wrong before that, but we're going to deal with this 90% issue. Y'all all right?
Yes, sir.
The Honorable Elijah Muhammad told us that when you want to go to a problem and solve it, you don't cut off the branch or even the trunk, but you must go to the root.
Right.
We know that from dealing with weeds in our yards. You can go and cut the dandelion down all you want, cut the weed down all you want, but in a few weeks the weed is back.
Right.
But if you can pull the weed up and leave it no root or branch, then it cannot reproduce itself.
Right.
Well, if we see that 90% of our problems had its birthplace on the plantation, then we have to go back to that time period mentally and figure out a way to repair the psychological damage that has been done.
Right.
Y'all believe me, right?
Yes, sir.
Simple mathematics will show you there was no such thing as a crackhead in Egypt.
Come on. Come on.
Did you hear me? There wasn't no casino boats on the Nile River. No, it wasn't.
There wasn't nobody, a tribe that took over the territory of another tribe and turned their pyramid into a trap house. Huh? No, there were no dope fiends, no drug dealers, no pimps, prostitutes, no hustlers. Every last one of these conditions among us came after we landed in America. Therefore, every criminal, every robber, every thug should wear on their back a label that says "Made in America." Because before we got to the hells of North America, we wasn't doing none of that stuff. We got westernized and Caucasianized. Therefore, we became these particular things. Y'all all right? Slavery, brothers and sisters, is still in effect. Slavery is a business. Did you hear me? What is the goal of a business? The goal of a business is to make profit. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
But the goal of any business in making profit is to convert the business into what is called a turnkey operation.
Listen.
Which means that you take yourself out of the picture of putting your own sweat equity in, and you develop manuals, rules, regulations, and systems that can be in place in the absence of you, that has people following a job description. Is that right? In the absence of your physical oversight, and the business is continuing to make money as if you were there. What if slavery was a business that was started in 1555? They don't need chains and whips or no slave masters no more to be overseeing. They already came up with rules, regulations, systems, laws, programs. Thus, whenever you go to the traditional Negro church, that's one of the systems that are designed to keep slavery as a business moving, making profit without them being there. Thus, when you go to the public school killing field, it's a program and a system in the city council, in state law, in federal law. These are rules and regulations that are designed to make slavery a profitable business without the white man having to be there with a whip or a chain. He got a turnkey operation. So when Willie Lynch was here, he said that he uses fear, envy, and distrust for control purposes. Well, if slavery is a business, you're not looking for physical control, you're looking for mental control.
That's right.
Is that right?
Yes, sir.
So the goal of Willie Lynch in modern terms was to create a Bluetooth Negro, a remote control Negro,
Listen.
a wireless Negro.
Come on.
Huh?
Yes.
Do you know whenever you have a wireless device, it has to be synchronized, doesn't it?
That's right.
Is that right?
Yes, sir.
What are you doing when you're synchronizing? You are taking the code from the transmitter and adjusting the receiver to the same code that it will respond to the button when it's pushed.
That's right.
Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Fear, envy, and distrust is a way of hardwiring the brain to receive the wireless signal of white supremacy.
Yes, sir.
Did y'all hear me?
Yes, sir.
So we want to try to figure out a way to get off that push button system. See if we can get our frequency hardwired so when God pushed the button, only when God pushed the button do we move and do what it is that we're supposed to be doing. Y'all still with me? Interesting though, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad said that there were 3 sciences never taught to the slaves. And Willie Lynch used 3 things to hardwire the brain to the frequency of white supremacy. Does this make sense? So it's a strong possibility that like fear, envy, and distrust has hardwired the brain to receive the frequency of white supremacy. If we learn as a people the science of war, the science of marriage or mating, and the art or the science of finance or money, that our brains will be hardwired to the way of God himself and the freedom of us as a people. Y'all with me? Well, the proof is, as they say in the pudding, that we really don't know the science of marriage For if we did, then 75% of all of our marriages wouldn't be ending up in divorce. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Marriage, brothers and sisters, is the cornerstone of family. Where there are no strong families, you can't have a strong community. Where you don't have a strong community, you can't have a strong nation. No strong nation, you can't have a strong world. So marriage or mating has to be concretized in order for a nation to ever become what it is. So the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan taught us a few weeks ago, he said, divorce, a threat to national security. Is that right? Allah, God, hates divorce. Is that right? If we really knew the science of mating, then we wouldn't be hitting and missing when we bring children into the world.
Listen.
2 good ones, 1 bad one. Huh? 1 good one, 2 bad ones. Is that right?
Yes.
1 small one, 2 dumb ones. Now, I'm not asking you to raise your hand. I'm just saying that this is how it goes now. One of them honest and another one a liar. One of them you can trust with everything, one of them will steal from you. Well, how do we keep hitting and missing? The earth has children too. We call it vegetation and fruit. But the earth, when it produces its children are always the same. The earth always has predictable results. If you plant green bean seeds in the earth, you do not grow carrots. Is that right? Well, what makes the earth able to have a predictable result when we don't have one? It's because the earth is in perfect agreement with the light of the sun. The sun is 93 million miles from this planet, burning at 14,072 degrees. That has a ray of light that travels 93 million miles, 186,000 miles per second, and it takes 8 minutes and 20 seconds for 1 ray of light to come from the sun to strike the earth's equator to cause the earth to spin. The earth on April 18th will travel at 1,037 1/3 miles per hour. The earth on May the 6th is still going to move at 1,037 1/3 miles per hour. On its own axis, every 23 hours, 56 minutes, and 46 seconds, it will make a day because that's what the nature says for it to do. Since the earth is in complete harmony with its own nature and in perfect agreement with the light, it is able to have a consistent pattern of consistent and predictable results. So every time a child, a vegetation or a fruit comes up out the earth, it's always the same. Well, how is it that we, the best of creation, can put a seed into our woman? And when the child comes out, we got a good one and a bad one. We got a smart one and a dumb one. We got one that's honest and we got one that is a lie. Well, how do we get unpredictable results? It's because we're out of accord with our nature. And we're not in agreement with the light of truth like we should be. So if we submit to the truth 100% and get back in accord with nature, we'll have predictable results. That's the art of mating. All praise is due to Allah. All praise is due to Allah. In the book, The Torchlight for America.
Yes, sir.
Y'all ready for this?
Yes, sir.
Put your seatbelt on now.
Come on.
The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan teaches us. I was thinking about 15 antennas.
Yes, sir.
And only about 20 people that went to the ADC. I said the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan teaches us. Oh, that's better. Praise be to Allah. In this illuminating book, Torchlight for America, page 102. Did y'all hear me?
Yes, sir.
Paragraph 2. It's just like saying Holy Quran, Surah 5, Ayat 6. It's just like saying Revelations chapter 21, verse 16. So I'm going to go back again. Torchlight for America, page 102, paragraph 2, reads, God talking. Y'all got your seatbelts on?
Yes, sir.
You don't need a mate until you find out who you are. Thank you for listening as I greet you. No, I'm a First step, you don't need a mate till you find out who you are.
Right.
So man must first gain a thorough knowledge of self before marriage or mating could ever be a science.
Right.
What is knowledge of self? Knowledge of self is the study of the great legacy of black people. Make no mistake about that.
Right.
For history opens up the realm of human possibility. But in truth, history really shows us the minimum of what we should be able to do. For everything in creation is supposed to evolve over time, which means it's supposed to get better and stronger. So whatever black people were 1,000 years ago, we should be better than them today. So if they invented pyramids yesterday, gives are 451 feet tall, 451 feet deep, covering 13 acres, made of 1,003.5 ton blocks of granite, gold, and marble, we should be able to build more than that.
That's right.
Did you hear me?
Yes, sir.
If we were able to use a solar-powered battery that absorbed the light of the sun and was able to fuel an entire country, then surely we should be able to keep the lights on in the hood now.
That's right. That's right.
At least that now.
That's right.
But we should be able to do better than that. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
But knowledge of self is also studying your anatomy. How does the body work? Y'all with me? Knowledge of self is even deeper than that. It's studying the characteristics of God. For every last one of the 99 attributes of Allah are all human characteristics. All of that power is wrapped up inside of us. We just suffering from an attribute imbalance.
That's right.
You know how they say crazy people got a chemical imbalance?
That's right.
Well, we are crazy people with an attribute imbalance. We don't know when to be the avenger and when to be the merciful. Huh? So we the merciful when we supposed to be the avenger. Is that right?
That's right.
We the giver of life when at that time we shouldn't have been that. We should have been the cause, possibly, of death. Make sense?
Yes.
Well, we don't need a mate until you first find out who you are and what you need and hope to achieve in life. A man going nowhere don't need no help getting there. So if you don't know where you're going, why you need some help to get there?
Come on, brother. Come on.
There's a saying, Brother Tony, that anybody that does not know where they're going is bound to end up somewhere different.
Right. Every time.
Ain't that something?
Yes, sir. Go ahead, brother Nuri.
Listen to the Honorable Minister. He goes on to say, when thoroughbred horses are mated, the breeders carefully examine the stud and the mare with an eye for what they hope to breed from the two. We can learn a lesson from the mating of horses. We should, y'all didn't hear that?
Yes, sir.
Why do you think they call it a bride and a groom? Why is it called the bridal path? Huh? Because a groom, as a man, you're supposed to be a rider.
That's right. That's right.
Did you hear me?
Yes, sir. Right.
You're supposed to be able to ride. Did you hear me? Meaning you're supposed to be a leader, someone that can guide, someone that can counsel, someone that can direct.
Listen, listen.
Y'all with me?
Yes, sir.
The groom also knows how to care for, knows how to take care of, knows what to say, what to do, when to say it, and when to do it.
That's right.
Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And then, of course, whenever you do it right, say it right, treat them right, then just as the horses that you see, they have blinders on, meaning that they can't see nothing in their peripheral vision, everything's in front of them. Well, whenever you a man doing it right, then your woman don't see nobody but you. She has spiritual blinders on, has a focus on you as her mate. Y'all all right? We should learn that in order to get what we want in a relationship, we have to first understand who we are and how to identify others, that which we need, and that which we need to help us in our development into divine. Did you hear me?
Yes, sir.
The science of mating is for two people to come together and engage themselves in a microcosm of relating to one another in compromise that trains us for the macrocosm of becoming one with God. Did you hear me?
Yes, sir.
A woman is not a pleasure box. A woman is not your professional maid. A woman is not your chef. She should clean up the house, and she should cook, and she should try to take care of you, but that ain't her only job. And the black man is not an ATM machine. I said the black man is not an ATM machine. He's not your personal bodyguard, nor is he your handyman around the house. The role of male and female is bigger than cooking and cleaning, bigger than giving somebody money, bigger than fixing something when it's broke. The goal of human beings, male and female coming together, is that they can duplicate the process of becoming one with God. And if the goal of a man coming with a woman is just to start a business or to satisfy some sexual need, that ain't no science of mating. That's not the science of marriage. That's business as usual. That's plantation psychosis. No, two people got to come together to strive to be one with God. All praise is due to Allah. Y'all okay? Also, these are just some sound bites. But you know we don't know the science of war. The first principle of warfare is that you have to know what you're fighting for. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Then you have to know what to fight with. And then you have to know the identity of your enemy. And the fact that we are killing one another over an 8-ball or a quarter key, over a color, over a street, shows that we really don't know the science of warfare. How you gonna kill somebody and go to war with somebody because they stole your tennis shoes? How you gonna kill your brother because he stole $50 from you in a dice game? How you gonna kill somebody because they stole your car, Ethan? The white man stole a whole nation of people.
Right.
And we ain't rose up against him yet.
That's right.
So I'm not trying to condone going out and doing that now. No, that ain't what I'm saying. Before we can ever go kill any external enemy, we got to kill the internal enemy. Before we can ever justifiably go out and kill any Caucasian outside of self, we got to kill the crackers in our subconscious mind. Them John Hawkins and them Willie Lynch that exist in our subconscious mind. And once we get rid of that devil within self, then Muhammad can murder all other devils. But we got to go after polytheism. We got to go after greed and avarice. We got to go after lust. We got to go after false pride and arrogance. Is that right? We have to go after fear, envy, and distrust. And all the other negativity that we got in our brain that's stopping us from making. I said negativity. I knew what I just said. That's a special type of the negative that only black people know how to do. We got to kill that devil in there first before we can go out and kill any devil that's outside of ourselves. Are y'all all right?
Yes, sir.
No, if we knew the art of war, we wouldn't be constantly killing one another, because technically we're not supposed to even be warring with flesh and blood. No, we war not with flesh and blood. We war with principalities.
That's right.
We war with the rulers of the darkness of this world. We war with spiritual wickedness that exists in high places. We fighting a battle in the mind.
That's right.
The final battle in the sky. Y'all still with me?
Yes, sir.
Well, in that sense, then it's simple mathematics. Study what the slave master did to us. And when you study it, you should naturally want to retaliate. That's the natural thing to want to do. You should want to be able to eliminate the one that caused that much hell to you. But instead of acting out in a physical way, follow the law of transmutation and convert that passion, that frustration, and that spirit to retaliate into the spiritual arena.
That's right.
And kill all of the weaknesses that are born out of the brown germ of self. Did you hear me?
Yes, sir.
And whenever that happens, you ain't even got to worry about the other byproduct of the brown germ that walks the face of the planet Earth.
That's right.
He will cease to exist.
That's right.
Y'all still with me?
Yes, sir.
Well, last but not least, and then we're going to wrap it up. We don't know the science of business, but we need to learn this. And if we learn the science of business, the science of mating, and the science of warfare, our brains can be re-hardwired for the frequency of God and true liberation for our people.
Yes.
Y'all still with me?
Yes, sir.
We can't know the science of business, for we the only people on the planet that blame the white man for 95% of our problems and spend 97% of our money with them. What kind of mathematics is that? How you gonna blame the white man for 95% of the problems and spend 97% of the money with them? And anytime a black person open up a business, if it happens to be 4 milliseconds farther than the white man's business, we'll go to the white man's business before our own brother or sister's business. We got a saying, shop with your brother before you shop with another. The first law of nature is self-preservation. Don't you ever ride past or be unwilling to ride farther to support a black business to go to some white man's business. That ain't racism. That's nature. And then when we go to white folks' business, every 2 months, they telling you that somebody done something to a pizza. Huh? Somebody done something to a hoagie. Y'all seen the Domino's thing the other day. Don't act like y'all ain't see that.
That's right.
White folks doing all type of stuff from the white restaurants to your food. You getting extra sauce. And it ain't the sauce you ordered. They can put extra sauce on your food. And you'll keep going back to Domino's and Pizza Hut and McDevil's and the White Casket and the Murder King. And going to rallies and buying a big stupid burger and Long John Killers. You'll keep going to white folks' restaurant and they got extra sauce that you didn't order on your food, but let you go to a black restaurant and they accidentally short you 1 hush puppy. See what I'm saying? You can't do no business with niggas, man. I'm telling you. I ain't never going, I ain't going back there. I ain't never going to another black fish market the rest of my life. Well, how in the hell are you going to let the white man do all the crap he been doing at these restaurants, killing you, putting estrogen in the food, making fags out of the men? Huh? And testosterone in the food, making lesbians out of our women. And they got chemical warfare going on in the fast food market, but you'll keep going to white folks. But we get short at 1 hush puppy and won't go back to the black race. No, we got to be a little more forgiving with ourselves. We need the science of business. Did you know that black people right now, last year we brought in over $750 billion? We brought in over $100 billion more than Mexico. Black people in America did. We brought the same gross income as Spain. It's 40 million of us in America and $750 billion we had last year. Yet we don't have our own schools. We don't have our own factories. We don't have our own farmland. We're not manufacturing our own toilet paper, our own toothpaste. We don't have nothing we can call our own. While Spain with $750 billion, not 40 million, 400 million people. They got their own system of commerce, their own railroads, their own airports, their own school system. They are taking care of themselves with 10 times the amount of people. Plantation psychosis, post-traumatic slave syndrome, premature cognitive commitment. Something's wrong with our minds. Our bodies are working fine. Something wrong with our minds. We got to get our minds back in check so we can start doing something for ourselves. All praise is due to Allah. Ain't nothing wrong with trying to get you some money. Did you hear me? No, get money, but make sure that you got more morals than you got money. Get rich, but don't compromise righteousness for riches. Did y'all hear me? Get you some bread, but don't compromise your beliefs for that bread. Get you something in your pocket, but don't compromise principles for the sake of your pocket. Get you some currency, but don't compromise your character for the acquisition of currency. Did you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Get you a dollar, but don't let the dollar override Allah.
That's right.
Believe in Allah first and then put the dollar somewhere down the line of the chain of command, but don't have the dollar above Allah.
That's right.
Ain't nothing wrong with getting a little money. You just got to have it in its proper place.
Right.
What is the proper place for money? Money is a good servant, but a horrible master. Money is supposed to serve us. We're not supposed to serve money.
Right.
Did you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Money is a medium of exchange. We're supposed to use money to get people, not people to get money.
That's right.
Did you hear me?
Yes, sir.
And when we got that science of finance, and we got principle above our pocket, our morals above our money, our righteousness above our riches, our character above our currency, then we got things in a proper chain of command.
Right.
Y'all still with me?
Yes, sir.
In closing, brothers and sisters, white people don't have more money than us because they're smarter than we are. Did you hear me? And they don't have more money because they work harder than we work. How you outwork a slave? How you outthink a pyramid builder? No, we the wisest people on the planet and have worked harder than anybody has ever worked in the history of the world.
Right.
They have more than we have because we are on a real life monopoly board. Y'all know monopoly, don't you? The difference between us and them is that we didn't come to the game with our two 500s, our two 100s, our 450s, or how many 20s? Let's see who's the vet. 620, our 5 10s, 5s, and 1. We didn't come to the table with no inheritance. We was promised 40 acres and a mule, but we didn't get that. We don't have no reparations check. Is that right? And mama and dad didn't have nothing that they can leave for you and me. So we have come to the game of monopoly on the board, but we didn't start off with any initial investment capital. Therefore, when you move around the monopoly board, you only can do one or two things. Either you gonna buy or you gonna rent. Well, if you start the game with no money, you can't rent or buy. So you can't even play the game on the board. You gotta live off the board. So you start robbing, you start selling dope, you start stealing. You get connected to welfare. That's living off the board. And by living off the board, we don't pass go directly to jail, and don't collect no $200. And that's what's been happening to black people in the hills of North America. So family, I'm done. And I'm gonna drop something on you as a principle, and then we're gonna move on out. This is a simple mathematical formula that will secure success for us. Y'all ready for this?
Yes, sir.
Pray like everything depends on God.
That's right. Number one.
But work like everything depends on you. Thank you for listening. I greet you in peace. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you, family.
Come on, y'all can do better than that. Give our brother a round of applause. Takbir! 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 Let's give Brother Nuri another round of applause for